your question made me think of it, is if you end up behind on taxes, the worst thing that you can do is ignore the IRS. The IRS is not, they're not as evil as they seem. I mean, you might have, everyone has their opinion on taxes themselves. I'm not saying taxes are good and we should raise taxes. All I'm saying is that the IRS will work with you if you call them. They will let you set up a payment plan that is $200 a week for the next 20 years. They're very workable. So just don't ignore it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get that.
I see you chomping at the bit. You're just like,
yeah, I don't think that they're that benevolent, as you say. And it's just the amount of interest too and penalties.
Oh yeah, it's going to cost you to pay them over a long period of time. Absolutely.
And you look at that, and who gets to decide those amounts? Who gets to decide the penalty? And if we really don't like what you did, then we're going to give you an extra penalty on top of that, or some kind of just the penalties. I just think are. I'm sure there's a term in the Constitution where you can't. I forgot exactly the term, but you just can't arbitrarily come up with these expenses and fees on over top of that and think that they're reasonable.
I'm going to tell you, all you need to do is declare yourself a sovereign citizen. You never have to pay taxes.
Really? Have you done that before?
I am joking.
Yes. Yeah, that's probably not going to be a good idea.
It's not going to work.
Yeah. I'm sure people are chomping at the bit to go down that rabbit hole of whether or not, they are, you could do something like that. I'm sure people have tried to do things like that.
It's gone through the courts numerous times. Taxes are not optional.
Yeah. And people are, they're definitely not voluntary. I don't care what they say.
There's always somebody who thinks that they're smarter than everyone else who's ever lived. And they've figured out the one way they don't have to pay taxes.
Yeah. What are some other tax things that people do that just drive us crazy? I'm trying to think of some other things that people do.
Let's see.
Well, if you have to take loans out to pay your taxes, that's a bad sign.
Of course.
And what else? I'm trying to think of some other relatively common themes that we see with people when it comes to taxes. Well, maybe we hit all of them at this point.
I think we kind of hit them all. I really can't think of anything.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is that you have to plan. They are predictable. It's something that we know that we're going to have to pay every single quarter and every single year. There is you have to communicate with your team. And then the game at that point in time is once you know how much you're going to set aside, that puts the demand of how much income you need to make on the practice. Yep. You can work with your accountants from there to whittle that number down.
Of course.
What's the game now of how do we get this effective tax rate from, 32% down to 24% or something like that. And you can start looking at deductions. There are a number of deductions that people can take.
Oh yeah.
That a lot of them don't. I don't see a lot of people contributing to HSA accounts. I don't see a lot of people taking home office deductions, just like you said.
Having meetings, having company meetings at their house.
I don't see people having company meetings at their house.
On payroll. I mean,
there are a number of them. And there are some advanced tax strategies out there. We've looked at them. We've seen them. There are a number of, charitable donation. I want to call them a scheme, not in a negative way, but they're charitable donation, strategies out there that we've seen. Some are, are legitimate. Some aren't. But those are certainly available out there as well. There's real estate, which gives you, some kind of a benefit in some cases. We've kind of looked at a lot of them before.
Oh yeah.
And it's, you can utilize the tax code, but I guess the bottom line is that you have to be proactive.